Atraxa has a lot of keywords. Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step you can proliferate. Now, originally I thought this commander was like super powerful. I was so excited to see her. And then I began to think about it, and she's not as powerful as I originally thought. She has no protection, and she proliferates at the end of your turn. So, with a Super Friends Planeswalker build, she isn't as powerful as you might think, but she still is very good. So, that's a bit of my disclaimer for the deck. But either way, I still like her, and she still just has some of my, probably actually all 4 of my favorite colors in one deck. All the best Planeswalkers are in this color, a lot of the best card draw and ramp are all in this color scheme, so she's just very flexible. And I'm building her as a Super Friends deck, yet this is kind of more of a part control, part stacks, part Super Friends. My first iteration of her had a lot of +1/+1 counter synergies, but I just didn't really find satisfaction or enjoyment in that idea. So this deck is quite tweaked from the original pre-con. But anyways, I hope you really enjoy her and enjoy this deck tech video. So, Atraxa, Praetor's Voice. The bread and butter to Atraxa will be the Planeswalkers. So first we have Narset. Just a note, I looked at all these Planeswalkers like ultimates when considering them, as well as their first 2 abilities, but specifically ultimates are all very powerful and can just wreck your opponent's day. So, Narset's ultimate is that your opponents can't cast non-creature spells, which is typically like 30% of their deck is non-creature spells, and that just really hinders what they can do. It removes all card draw and ramping and spot removal and board wipes from the game from their side of things, so that usually lets you win the game. But her first ability lets you draw a card, and her second ability lets you rebound instants or sorcery spells. Tamiyo. Her first ability again lets you draw cards, her second ability can tap non-land permanents so they can prevent them from attacking you, protecting herself, and various things. And her ultimate is draw 3 cards, and you can cast any non-land card from your hand without paying its mana cost. So it's basically Omniscience. Again, very powerful. Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. First ability, you'll note, draws you a card. Second ability, can return a creature to its owner's hand. And the third ability basically counters the first spell that they play every turn, which is, again, hinders a lot of decks. A lot of decks, if they're running a lot of high casting cost cards, it really just prevents them from doing anything until like later in the game. Now, Soren Markov. This one specifically is for his -3 ability, making somebody's life total become 10. This card can just win you the game. It's very good. The other Soren, I like the first ability because, you know, we're running a lot of high casting cost cards in this deck, and revealing top card and being able to draw it and then doing damage to opponents, each opponent specifically, is very nice. Karn, Liberated. Exile target permanent is mostly what I'm using it for, or exiling cards from their hand, but it's very powerful. And then Ugin, exiling cards again. And his ultimate is very achievable. I mean, if you +2 and then proliferate, you're already at 10. The next turn you can ultimate. Like, that's what I like about the proliferate mechanic. So you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put 7 permanents on from your hand onto the battlefield. So again, it's kind of like Omniscience. So those are my Planeswalkers. I'm only running 7. I probably want to run 10 in the future iterations, but 7 is what I had and I really enjoyed running. So these are the cards that either double the counters in some way or proliferate. So the first one is Deep Glow Skate, just doubling the counters on all permanents, very handy. Great when your Planeswalkers are already on the field and you can just play this and then ultimate the same turn. Then we have the Tide. Whenever you cast a spell, you can proliferate. And proliferate is really nice when you could play numerous spells on a turn and then take up the Planeswalkers and then use their ability. It's way more relevant than Atraxa proliferating at the end of your turn. Now, Doubling Season you should only ever play if you're able to play it and then play a Planeswalker and just ultimate right away. You don't want to cast this and not do anything with it because your opponents are just going to destroy it before it's your turn again. So be very cautious. But it's especially nice to have both the Skate and Doubling Season in the same deck because, you know, if your Planeswalker's already in the field, you play the Skate. If it's not on the field, you play Doubling Season. They're both very handy to have together. Then, Contagion Engine. This can potentially kill your opponent's utility creatures. Putting a -1/-1 counter on each creature they control, and then proliferating and proliferating again. This can kill, like, lots of creatures. It's almost a board wipe in a way. And you can keep recurring this turn after turn, so very handy, worthwhile card. So these are our ramp spells. We have Soul Ring, Burgeoneering, Everflowing Chalice. Very good card because you put charge counters on it. Likewise with this one, these both just let you proliferate, get lots and lots of counters on them, and tap for lots of mana. So very good. Coalition Relic. This one's especially good to note because you can tap this, put a charge counter on it, proliferate at the end step of your turn, so then there's 2 counters on it. And then in the beginning of your pre-combat step, you can utilize those 2 and then tap it for another mana. So this often will be tapping for like 3 on some turns. So it's very good as well. Chromatic Lantern fixes your mana. Komada's Reach. I like having cards like this and Cultivate to fix your mana. If you're in green, you may as well look to get more land out because land is something that will stay and is more permanent than an artifact, so it's good to have that. And then Crystalline Crawler. You know, you could pay for all different colors, get 4+1/+1 counters on this. Then the end of your turn proliferate with Atraxa, so it's up at 5, and then like remove 4 of them immediately, or tap it, or there's just so many things you could do with this. I mean, this thing can just get huge fast, and you can just pile it up with counters, and when somebody plays a board wipe or tries to get rid of it, you can just sacrifice, like, remove all the counters and then play a counter spell or something. Like, there's so many things you can do. It's very versatile. And then we have our card draw. So we have Sylvan Library, Rhystic Study, Phyrexian Arena. These are my 3 favorites. They just draw you so many cards and are just very good. Tezzeret's Gambit, it's there because we can proliferate with it. But yeah, just draw 2 cards and proliferate. Factor Fiction, Instant Speed, which is very important. Sphinx's Revelation, just drawing lots of cards, gaining lots of life. Great in the late game because this deck is very light on creatures, and often we get attacked and can easily lose the game just by running out of life. So having a life gaining ability is nice. And then this one also draws you cards. You can basic land cycle it away. And then Kozilek is there to draw you cards, but it's also a win condition because Annihilator 4 with the ability to attack is just so powerful and can prevent us from decking out or drawing our library because when it goes in the graveyard, it shuffles back in. So these are our 2 tutor spells, Enlightened Tutor and Demonic Tutor. They can just search out whatever combo piece you need, whether that's an enchantment or any card in your deck. Sylvan Library, Doubling Season are some of the more popular ones. You will notice so far that Planeswalkers are the way to win, so we have to have ways to protect them and keep them alive. So we run Negate, Counterspell, Void Shatter, and Fuel for the Cause as our counter spells. I'm planning to put Swan Song in here, I just need to figure out what to take out. Fuel for the Cause is there to proliferate as well, that's partly why I'm running it. Then for removal, we have Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshare, Capsize. This can also be bought back and recurred numerous times. Crows and Grip. It's good to have Split Second on at least 1 card in your deck so you can just stop whatever they're doing, and they can't counterspell Corrosion Grip, so it's very important to have one. Then we have Anguished Unmaking. It can exile any target non-land permanent. Mortify, Putrefy, and Sylvan Reclamation, exiling 2 artifacts and or enchantments, and it can basic land cycle. So again, another kind of pseudo ramp. Then we have Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, and when you cast it, you can exile 2 permanents. So I have a lot of exiling and destroying target removal spells, which is essential for this deck to stay alive, because you want your planeswalkers to be living. Now, the other big component is board wipes. I need a lot of board wipes because I don't have much ways to protect the planeswalkers except for this. So we have Cyclonic Rift, Black Sun Zenith. Specifically putting -1/-1 counters is nice because we are proliferating, and that is very handy. Sometimes you just don't have the mana to kill everything in the field, and even just weakening your opponent's thing and then being able to slowly grind away with that proliferate mechanic is very nice. Rout, again, it's instant speed if you pay 2 more mana. Evacuation, again, instant speed. Terminus, Merciless Eviction, and Degree of Pain. Degree of Pain I like because you can draw cards as well. I am tempted to go up to 10 board wipes. I think I only have 7 right now, which is the bare minimum for this deck, but this deck wants to have lots of board wipes. So we're running Lightning Greaves to protect Atraxa. She is actually a viable win condition because she is quite powerful, can win through commander damage. So then Luminarch Ascension is also very important and utilizes counters, specifically quest counters. So with all the proliferating we're doing, this can tick up really fast. But the idea behind this card is to wipe the board, remove all creatures from the field, then play this on your second main phase or something, and watch it go around the table, this thing collect all the counters it needs, and then you can just start popping out 4/4 white angels and winning through combat damage. And then we're running Humility and Knight of Souls Betrayal. This is kind of like my 8th board wipe combo. It just makes all creatures become 1/1 creatures, and then all creatures getting -1/-1. So you just kill everything on the board. So this does stop a lot of things, and a lot of token strategies. Like Hose is my Prosh deck. We have Tainted Aether. Whenever a creature comes into play, its controller sacrifices a creature or a land. Again, this hinders a lot of token strategies and Voltron strategies, surprisingly. Whenever they want to cast a new creature, they have to sacrifice something, so it does work for you. Sphere of Safety, I run a lot of enchantments, and this specifically says that they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. I thought about running Propaganda, Ghostly Prison, and such, but they don't really stop my opponents from attacking my planeswalkers. They don't do what I want them to do, so Sphere of Safety is the one I chose to run. Temporal Mastery, this is the one I like because it has a miracle. You can just cast it for 2. It kind of acts like another proliferate spell in the deck, so it's very good. Then we run Omniscience. I'm just running a lot of higher casting cost spells, and this is just good. I didn't have it in any other deck, didn't know what to do with it. We have Venser's Journal. It's nice because you have no maximum hand size, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for every card in your hand. And this can just save you from dying with the amount of life you're gaining. So then we have Exsanguates and Debt to the Deathless. Gain a whole bunch of life, and burn your opponent away. These work well with Markov. If you get -3, bring them down to 10 life, and then pump 10 mana into one of these spells, and they lose the game. And then finally we have Villainous Wealth. This is like a Genesis wave on our opponent's decks. Another card that you can just dump all your mana into, and you can just do crazy fun things. You don't know what you're gonna get, but sometimes this is enough to win the game. So those are my kind of more utility stuff for the deck. what you've all been waiting for, the land. Okay, so this is the this deck has probably the most money invested in my land base of any of my decks. So anyways, I'm running 2 of each of the basics. It's a pretty even split. I tried to keep basically every card being only needing 1 of the color. There's a couple that need 2, but anyway, so for all of them I have the 6 buddy lands. Isolated Chapel, Drowned Catacombs, Woodland Cemetery, Sun Petal Grove, Hinterland Harbor, Prairie Street. Oh yeah, and then I go to 3 Zendikar lands. So specifically I'm running these because they have the land types Plains, Island, Island Swamp, and Forest Plains. They're fetchable. Then I'm running all 6 Shock lands, Hallowed Fountain, Godless Shrine, Watery Grave, Overgrown Tomb, Temple Garden, Breeding Pool. So yeah, you'll notice that like all my lands have a basic land type besides the buddy lands. So the buddy lands, I've never had them come into play tapped because I always have at least something that works out. They come in untapped. The Zendikar lands come in untapped usually because usually I have at least 2 basic lands on the field because I'm running 8 in the deck. And so then I'm running, yeah, the 6 buddy lands, 6 shock lands, and then I'm running 6 fetch lands. So I have Flooded Strand, Polluted Delta, and Windswept Heath. They're all the cheaper ones that came out from cons. And then I'm running these are the ones that come into play tapped. You know, they might be replaceable with other things or can be upgraded, but they still serve its purpose really nicely. I have Flooded Plain, Bad River, and Grasslands. They all can search my colors that I need. So then we have Reliquary Tower as our first utility land. No maximum hand size. Handy. Rogue's Passage. Makes our creatures unblockable. You know, this isn't very relevant, but you know, if you have one of your big old drawsies on the field, it's nice to have it become unblockable and you can win the game that way. Oops, got 2 cards here. No, 1, okay. So Temple of the False God. Homeward Path. Homeward Path is good because, you know, this is a very political card. Sometimes people take control of things and you can just tap it and everyone gets control of everything else. And I've been playing against decks that run like Thief's Auction, and it's just terrible when you're about to ultimate your Planeswalker and they take your Planeswalker. That's annoying. So we have Bojuka Bog against those graveyard strategies. And then we have a few lands that kind of tap for any color. So we have Exotic Orchard, City of Brass, Mana Confluence, and Command Tower. So that is my Atraxa Praetor's Voice deck. This is my second iteration of tooling around with it. What are your thoughts? Like, this is probably the most money I have invested in any single deck. I think I counted, it was roughly $900 Canadian, which is crazy. Like, because a lot of my other decks are like maybe $400 or $500 to build. This one's like twice as expensive. So I'm running a lot of my good, best cards in this one. And anyways, let me know what you think. This is still a newer commander. A lot of people are still tooling around with it. I don't exactly know how I want to keep this deck. I have an Orleo deck that's white, blue, and black. I have Janara deck that's green, white, and blue. I have Carador that's green, white, and black. Like, I have so many cards that are in this color range. Like, almost every card in my collection is in these colors. I rarely run any red cards, so I just have so many cards to choose from. So anyways, let me know those suggestions. Click the subscribe button. And, you know, I keep seeing that you guys want me to post deck lists. I've actually created a tapped out account specifically for Joseph Deck Tech's YouTube channel, so I'm planning to actually start, like, being way more diligent at making that happen and posting deck lists in the videos as I upload them. So my apologies for those, the people that wanted the deck lists. That will be a new feature that will be happening for all my future videos. So anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a comment in the comment section below.